proving my worth. I stopped competing for attention. I know who I am now. I know what I deserve now. I expect reciprocity naturally. I expect effort naturally. Everything changes when I choose myself. I stopped settling emotionally. I stopped accepting inconsistency. I stopped calling confusion love, and everything changed for me. I trust my own value deeply. I trust the energy I carry. People respond differently now, because I move differently now. I attract intentional people. I attract genuine effort. Everything in my life reflects my self-concept now. I trust what feels aligned. I trust what feels reciprocal. Everything meant for me feels calm and effortless. I am the prize. I no longer chase anything. I am the prize. Everything comes toward me naturally. I expect the best for myself. I am the prize. And life responds differently now. I stopped abandoning myself to keep other people comfortable. I stopped lowering my standards to feel temporarily chosen. I became emotionally available for healthy, consistent love. I became emotionally grounded in my own self-worth. I trust my intuition fully. I trust my standards fully. Everything became clearer when I honored myself fully. The best for myself. I am the prize, and life responds differently now. I know my value completely. I no longer compete. I naturally attract everything aligned for me. I am the prize. I stopped comparing myself. I stopped competing for attention. I stopped needing external validation. I know who I am now. What belongs to me finds me naturally. I trust my own energy completely. I trust my own path completely. I move differently now. I stopped looking outside myself for confirmation of my value. I stopped questioning my worth based on temporary experiences. I became more secure internally. I became more grounded emotionally. Everything around me changed when I stopped competing energetically. I trust what is meant for me. I trust what feels aligned. Everything unfolds differently when I stay connected to myself. I release comparison. I release insecurity. Everything meant for me cannot miss me. I don't compete. I know my value completely. is aligned chooses me naturally. I don't compete, I trust my own energy now. I don't compete, everything finds me effortlessly. I stopped trying to outperform others. I stopped needing to be chosen first. I became emotionally available for peace instead of validation. I trust my own timing now, I trust my own journey now. Everything became lighter when I stopped comparing myself. I allow myself to receive naturally, I allow myself to be fully seen. Everything changed internally when I accepted myself fully. I don't compete, I know my value completely. I don't compete, what is aligned chooses me naturally. I don't compete, I trust my own energy now. I don't compete, everything finds me effortlessly. Trust myself completely. I release comparison. I know my value now. I don't compete. Everything meant for me finds me naturally. I no longer force outcomes. I no longer chase opportunities. I trust attraction completely. I trust my own energy completely. What I desire moves toward me now. I allow life to support me. I allow myself to receive effortlessly. Attract aligned opportunities, I attract aligned experiences. Everything in my life reflects the energy I embody. I stopped operating from pressure, I stopped operating from fear. Everything became easier when I relaxed into certainty. I trust what flows naturally, I trust what feels reciprocal. Everything unfolds differently when I stop forcing outcomes. I release resistance fully. I release the need to control. Everything meant for me arrives effortlessly. I attract everything I receive effortlessly. I attract everything that aligns with my highest self. Attract everything. I trust my own energy now. I attract everything without forcing anything. I stopped chasing validation, I stopped seeking external approval. I became emotionally grounded inside my own self-worth. I trust my own timing now, I trust where my life is going. Everything changed internally when I stopped doubting myself. I allow overflow naturally, I allow expansion naturally. Everything became lighter when I trusted attraction fully. I attract everything I receive effortlessly. I attract everything that aligns with my highest self. I attract everything. I trust my own energy now. I attract everything without forcing anything. Everything aligned finds me naturally. trust attraction completely. I receive effortlessly. Attract everything. I attract everything. I'm always chosen naturally. I no longer fear rejection. I no longer question my value. I trust what is meant for me. I expect reciprocity naturally. I expect consistency naturally. I allow myself to be fully valued. I allow myself to receive fully. I stop chasing unavailable people. I stop settling for inconsistency. Everything changed internally when I honored my own standards. I trust healthy connection now. I trust emotionally safe love now. Everything in my life reflects the energy I accept. I allow myself to be prioritized. I allow myself to be appreciated. Everything unfolds differently when I stop abandoning myself. I release insecurity fully. I release fear around rejection. Everything aligned for me chooses me naturally. I always get chosen. I naturally receive effort. I always get chosen. I attract healthy connection. I always get chosen. I trust my own value now. I always get chosen without forcing anything. I stop needing constant reassurance. I stopped seeking external approval. I became emotionally grounded inside my own self-worth. I trust what feels reciprocal. I trust what feels intentional. Everything became clearer when I raised my standards emotionally. I allow myself to feel secure. I allow myself to feel valued. Everything changed for me when I fully chose myself first. I always get chosen. I naturally receive effort. I always get chosen. I attract healthy connection. I always get chosen. I trust my own value now. I always get chosen without forcing anything. I trust my own value completely. I receive reciprocity naturally. Everything aligned chooses me. I always get chosen. I radiate power naturally. I trust my own presence completely. I no longer shrink myself. I no longer second-guess myself. My energy speaks before I do. My confidence changes everything. I trust the woman I became. Everything responds to my energy now. room for myself. I stopped making myself smaller. Everything changed internally when I fully own my energy. I trust my own decisions now. I trust my own direction now. Everything around me shifts when I stay grounded in myself. I allow myself to be seen fully. I allow myself to take up space. Everything unfolds differently when I move with certainty. I release self-doubt fully. I release fear around visibility. Everything changes for me when I trust myself completely. I radiate power. My presence is unforgettable. I radiate power. Everything responds to my energy. I radiate power. I trust myself completely. I radiate power. I move with certainty now. Stopped abandoning myself emotionally. Stop lowering my standards emotionally. I became emotionally grounded inside my own self-worth. I trust my own intuition deeply. I trust my own timing deeply. Everything became clearer when I stopped doubting myself. I allow myself to feel powerful. I allow myself to feel secure. Everything changed for me when I honored myself fully. I radiate power. My presence is unforgettable. I radiate power. Everything responds to my energy. I radiate power. I trust myself completely. I radiate power. I move with certainty now. Is powerful. I trust my presence completely. Everything responds to me. Radiate power. Radiate power. I no longer force anything. I no longer chase anything. I trust attraction completely. I trust what flows naturally. Everything aligned finds me easily. I allow myself to receive fully. I expect reciprocity naturally. I let life come to me now. I stopped overextending my energy. I stopped proving my worth emotionally. Everything changed internally when I stopped forcing outcomes. I trust what feels intentional now. I trust what feels reciprocal now. Everything unfolds differently when I stay grounded in myself. I allow things to happen naturally. I allow life to support me naturally. Everything became easier when I released attachment fully. I release desperation fully. I release emotional chasing. Everything aligned for me moves toward me effortlessly. I receive without chasing. Everything comes naturally. I receive without chasing. I trust what is meant for me. I receive without chasing. I allow myself to receive fully. I receive without chasing. Everything aligns. stopped fearing being overlooked. I stopped fearing being replaced. I became emotionally secure inside my own self-worth. I trust my own timing deeply. I trust where my life is going. Everything became lighter when I stopped controlling outcomes. I allow myself to relax fully. I allow myself to trust fully. Everything changed for me when I stopped chasing emotionally. I receive without chasing. Everything comes naturally. I receive without chasing. I trust what is meant for me. I receive without chasing. I allow myself to receive fully. I receive without chasing. Everything aligns for me now. I trust attraction completely. I no longer force outcomes. Everything aligned finds me naturally. I receive without chasing. I no longer settle for less. I no longer tolerate inconsistency. I trust my standards completely. I trust my own value completely. Everything changes when I honor myself. Everything changes when I raise my standards. I expect effort naturally. I expect reciprocity naturally. I stopped accepting bare minimum. I stopped normalizing confusion. Everything changed internally when I chose myself fully. I trust what feels intentional now. I trust what feels emotionally safe now. Everything unfolds differently when I stop settling emotionally. I allow myself to be prioritized. I allow myself to be respected. Everything became clearer when I raised my standards fully. I release emotional scarcity. I release fear around losing people. Everything aligned for me rises to meet my standards. I set the standard. I expect the best naturally. I set the standard. Everything responds differently now. I set the standard. I trust my own value completely. I set the standard. I no longer settle emotionally. I stopped abandoning my needs. I stopped shrinking to keep peace. I became emotionally grounded inside my own self-respect. I trust myself more deeply now. I trust my intuition more deeply now. Everything became lighter when I stopped over-compromising. I allow healthy effort naturally. I allow consistency naturally. Everything changed for me when I honored myself fully. I set the standard. I expect the best naturally. I set the standard. Everything responds differently now. I set the standard. I trust my own value completely. I set the standard. I no longer settle emotionally. Everything aligned rises higher. I set the standard. I no longer chase validation. I no longer fear losing people. I trust my own energy completely. I trust my own worth completely. Everything changed when I chose myself. Everything changed when I stopped settling. I move with certainty now. I became emotionally untouchable. I stopped needing constant reassurance. I stopped over-explaining myself emotionally. Everything changed internally when I stopped abandoning myself. I trust what feels reciprocal now. I trust what feels emotionally safe now. Everything unfolds differently when I move from self-respect. I allow myself to be fully valued. I allow myself to be fully prioritized. Everything became clearer when I honored my own standards. I release emotional attachment. I release fear around rejection. Everything aligned for me feels calm and effortless. I became untouchable. I trust myself completely. I became untouchable. Everything responds to my energy. I became untouchable. I no longer settle emotionally. I became untouchable. I know my value fully. I stopped reacting from insecurity. I stopped seeking outside validation. I became emotionally grounded inside my own self-worth. I trust my own intuition deeply. I trust my own standards deeply. Everything became lighter when I stopped over-compromising. I allow myself to feel secure. I allow myself to feel powerful. Everything changed for me when I fully chose myself first. I became untouchable. I trust myself completely. I became untouchable. Everything responds to my energy. I became untouchable. I no longer settle emotionally. I became untouchable. I know my value fully. I trust myself completely. I move differently now. Everything aligned rises toward me. I became untouchable.